Hello, Toro fans, and welcome back to Tauros All Access. It's a Monday recap edition presented by the Minot family at YMCA. I'm Edward Neiman, joined alongside by Coby Brawl. Coby, Tauros coming off a weekend shutout sweep over the Aberdeen Wings in what was one of the more dominant weekends so far this year.
Yeah, huge weekend. First time seeing the Wings, and the Tauros are able to get all 4 points from the weekend. And not only that, even more than that, on top of the sweep, 2 back-to-back shutouts. One by Mazenko on Friday night, and then Swedes gets the shutout. Lucas Swedin, sorry, I shouldn't use abbreviations. Saturday night gets the shutout. 2 very different games, similar results. 4-0 Friday, 5-0 Saturday. Did a little bit of digging before the show, did some research, Edward, and by my count, that was the first back-to-back home weekend, 2 shutouts, a full weekend with 0 goals for the opponent in Tauros franchise history. They did have back-to-back home shutouts on February 6th and February 20th of 2015-16, but that was a Saturday of the one weekend series and a Friday of the weekend series a couple weeks after. So, yeah, it was, I mean, by pretty much every measure, just a dominant weekend for the Tauros. We'll dive a little bit more into the stat side of it, but yeah, huge in terms of momentum, huge whenever you can take all 4 from a rival, but to do it the way that they did it, you can't say enough.
Yeah, I think if you're the Tauros, you had 2 back-to-back weekends at home, so it was from a momentum standpoint was important to get things going. Tauros take 3 of 4, the 2-week homestand, obviously splitting with St. Cloud last weekend and then sweeping the Wings this week. And the Wings were a team that came into this matchup with 11 wins on the year in a Central Division that's starting to create some separation, but nonetheless still pretty tight.
Yeah, and that's a perfect way to put it. There is separation happening, but out in the middle there, it's still super tight. Tauros able to actually jump the Wings with that weekend sweep. But yeah, a team that, we were talking about it Thursday show, talking about it Friday pregame. Aberdeen coming in with a lot of momentum, but they were coming in pretty hurt. And you do have to at least mention that 3 AP players that saw their first NAHL action this weekend for the Wings had their best player, Bulgakov, was suspended on Friday night, didn't have him on Friday. And you kind of saw, just on shot total, how much Bulgakov means to their offense in general. Only had 14 shots on goal Friday. When he was out of the lineup, 31 shots on goal Saturday with him in the lineup. But yeah, it was the Tauros sticking with what they found success with, especially at home. Early goals, and then just locking it down on the back end. Like I just said, Friday night, only 14 shots on goal for Aberdeen. You're not going to be able to do a ton with that.
Yeah, that's one thing that I was impressed with. The Tauros, obviously, last week and got on the board early, allowed St. Cloud to chip away at an early lead. But the Tauros, I mean, look at the point leaders now. Ian Spencer, heck of a weekend. I believe it's 3 goals and 3 assists. Good for 23 points, sole team point leader right now for the Tauros. Then comes Jack O'Hannison and Jesse Uhala with 20 apiece. And then John Small with 19. So it's really the Tauros returners and also Jesse Uhala who are making an impact at the top.
Yeah, and that's what you love to see. That was, one of the strengths of last year's team was just a balanced scoring attack, points coming from all over the place. But I think, honestly, a guy that has kind of been quiet, we haven't mentioned him as much as maybe we should, Billy Batten has been huge all year. Popped a goal on Friday, I want to say, and really stole momentum away. But yeah, it was a great weekend, a great 2 weekends at home. Obviously, it's great when you get to be able to stay home and be at the Pepsi and have this home crowd advantage. But fans brought it all weekend, and the boys were able to back it up. And the other thing that we talked about going into this weekend was the differential in penalty minutes between the Wings and the Tauros. Tauros just not really a very heavily penalized team so far this year, and much of the same. We won't get into the reffing on the weekend too much, just because we don't have time for all that. But yeah, we'll say referee Clay definitely let the boys play all weekend. Only 1 power play opportunity generated for the Wings all weekend. Had a couple of offsetting penalties on Saturday, but any time that you can come out of a weekend only having to go on the PK 1 time, you're usually going to come out of that weekend looking real good.
Yeah, and I think that was one of my takeaways. Obviously, I've been with the Tauros remotely for a couple of years now. My first time seeing these 2 teams go back and forth. Ken mentioned it quite a few times throughout the broadcast. This rivalry is not one that's based on maybe proximity, such as the Bismarck one. It's a pure rivalry. 2 really physical teams that play that Central Division brand of hockey, and that's what I saw on display this weekend.
Yeah, and honestly, 2 different styles of play for sure. The physicality was there all weekend, don't get me wrong, but the Tauros under Coach Cody Campbell, you saw it last year, you've seen it again this year. a team built on speed on the front end, a lot of finesse on the front end, big bodies. You think of Adam Mahler, Leon Hagstrom, even Hubert Clark now on the back end. Guys kind of holding it down, but Aberdeen just a massive team front and back. 11 guys listed at 6'2" or taller on that roster, and so coming in with the amount of penalty minutes, we thought it was going to be a heavy hitting weekend, and it was. There were some big collisions out there. Don't get me wrong, but they were clearly a step slow. It seemed like in the speed department all weekend, and you could also look at having some of their top players out, having some AP guys in there. There's definitely a differential in skill set there, but yeah, it just looked like same story as last year. Toro was just a little bit faster, able to get to those pucks a little quicker, and able to move it a little faster, and obviously the exact results you want, getting a clean sweep on the weekend.
Toros with a busy schedule ahead this next weekend, taking the trip down to Forest Lake to take on the Mallards for the first time in franchise history. An expansion team, Mallards on a little bit of a skid themselves, looking to get some momentum though back at home after being on the road. Coby, just kind of some maybe a little bit of preview. What do you expect out of this weekend?
Yeah, and I mean, we'll be talking about it all week leading up. You and I will be on location Friday night. I'm excited first and foremost to see a new barn. We're used to the 6 teams in the Central that have been the 6 for as long as I've been here, but to have these 2 new ones, I'm excited to see what that facility looks like. But yeah, 2 teams trending in different directions right now, to say the least. Toros winning 4 out of their last 5. Like you said, Mallards coming in, I believe 7 in a row that they have dropped. So looking for hopefully something similar to this weekend, where the boys can get out to an early lead and then kind of shut it down on the back end, and hopefully 4 more points in the balance. The schedule does kind of get a little easier. We had talked about Aberdeen's strength of schedule. Another reason why they had those 11 quick wins. You look at the Bismarck Bobcats up at the top with 17 wins. 8 games against Watertown. They've had 4 against the Mallards, 2 against North Iowa this past weekend. So, we're starting to get into that part of the schedule where it's not St. Cloud, Bismarck every weekend. You're getting some of these first looks at these expansion teams. But at the end of the day, every game's unique to itself. Still 60 minutes to go out there and prove it. So I'm looking for a desperate team in the Mallards, and, having the home ice advantage. It certainly won't be easy, but hopefully can build off of a huge, 4 out of 5 3 out of 4 at home, 4 out of the last 5 in total. Hopefully can continue with that momentum.
Yeah, and I think that was the important thing with the Toros getting the sweep this weekend. You're going into a more favorable part of the schedule. You get some momentum while you're at home. Makes things a little easier as we go on the road. But like I mentioned, Toros take on the Mallards this Friday and Saturday. Then they come back to the state of North Dakota, down to Bismarck for a Wednesday night contest, Thanksgiving Eve. And then the Toros are back inside the Mesa Arena for Black Friday weekend, which is always a big deal around here.
Yeah, and honestly, you get past this Mallards weekend, and obviously not to overlook the Mallards weekend, still a very important weekend in terms of 4 points being on the line, but big matchup that Wednesday night down in Bismarck. Can almost guarantee that's going to be game of the night on NAHL TV, just because I don't really think anyone else is playing on that Wednesday night. But they usually pack it pretty good. It's one of their premier nights, similar to what we have on Friday. We know Black Friday is historically one of our better nights of the year in terms of attendance, in terms of what we got going on. We got some sick Black Friday jerseys that we'll start to tease at a little bit as we get closer to it. But yeah, and then we get our first look at the Watertown Shamrocks, another expansion team, the other central expansion team, another team kind of struggling, but a team that's definitely going to be looking to spoil that Black Friday weekend, no doubt about it.
Yeah, so if you want to get tickets for Black Friday weekend, make sure to do so. They do go quick, Coby. I know you've been around here for a couple years now. You know how hot of a ticket that is. Make sure to go to tickets.minotauroshockey.com. Weekend preview should be out on the website tomorrow. To find that, you can scan the QR code. That will take you to our link tree. Also, all our social medias are listed there. So if you're not already following, you can go ahead and hit the follow button. But Coby, before you get out of here, any final thoughts?
Yeah, just piggybacking off what you said about Black Friday, obviously Thanksgiving the day before, probably got some family in town, aunts and uncles. If they're even thinking about going to the game, may as well buy them a ticket. If you're going to try to buy that ticket on Friday morning, odds are it's not going to be there for you. So just make tentative plans and just bring the entire family out, extended family, neighbors, pretty much anyone you know. Get them down here. Pepsi Rink at Mesa Arena. Tickets.minotauroshockey.com. These jerseys, created by Sebastian Machado, are about as clean as they come, and I'm really excited to see them in person. Should be shipping at some point this week. So hopefully once we get them in hand, we can do some sick media with them, and yeah, it should be fun. Excited to go to Forest Lake with you. There's rumors that Ken Oda might be making the trip, to be determined, but yeah, I mean, looking between now and the end of November, we got, 5 solid matchups, a lot of opportunities for points for the boys, and, hopefully he can keep moving up these standings towards the top where we prefer to be.
Yeah. Well, Coby, thank you so much for joining us today. As always, we'll catch you Monday through Thursday right here at 3 p.m. on YouTube and Facebook Live. So until tomorrow, for Ed Ream and Coby Brought, we'll say so long.